mocktails that we call them. We've got mocktails on from 4 till 6. Just so you know, the feedback on all our events, always, I don't know if this is a judge on our content or actually on the type of people we invite, but the main number one bit of feedback is a collaboration between people between 4 and 6. So if you can stick around, just have a chat with people, because that's always where like the shared learning comes from. So if you can stick around from 4 to 6, that'd be great. If Gareth was going to have music to intro him to the stage, it would probably be the Blind Date music, but I don't want to give away any more clues or embarrass such an amazing speaker. But Gareth is going to talk about something that you guys will talk about a lot in your organisations, which is so important, which is the word purpose. So I've embarrassed him enough. He's a brilliant speaker. Welcome to the stage, Gareth.
So Matthew, thank you for that introduction. I think. Okay, good. So yes, hi. I'm Gareth Dunlop. I suppose what makes me maybe a little bit different to some of the other speakers, or most of the other speakers today, is that I'm not kind of professionally qualified to talk about vision or culture or human resources type issues. I'm simply a very interested observer and someone who has been involved in leading agencies now for about 2 decades. So I find the subject really interesting. I'm very aware that my own business success is closely related to how well I understand this stuff, and I suppose what I'm going to share just comes from kind of 20 years at the coalface. I'm aware too that because of the wonders of live streaming, my own team at Fathom are watching this back in the office in Belfast. So I can't make any grand claims about how wonderful I am, because the folks back in Belfast are going to call me out when I get into the office on Monday. So the topic I would like to cover over the next 20 to 25 minutes is exactly what we see on the screen, incorporating vision and purpose into culture. And I suppose if I can start with the headline, or give you a sense of what I'm hoping to share, I observe, or I have a slight concern, that in our pursuit of getting good people, and in our pursuit of making our companies attractive places to work, that we have overemphasized some of the things that we do for our people, and we have underemphasized other important things. Specifically, I think we are in danger of talking too much about comfort and flexibility, and we don't spend enough time answering what I think is the big question, which is, why on earth are we here, and what are we here to do? And I'm going to kind of just try and tease that out. So as I say, I'm Gareth. When I'm not doing this, I own and run a UX agency called Fathom. Please do tweet me as I go. In particular, if I'm at a slide and I'm pointing dramatically and it sounds all very wise, please do take a picture and put it up so people think I'm wiser than I actually am. As well as that, it just reminds people that I'm actually here doing work and I'm not just here on a jolly. A couple of years ago, I was given a presentation, and I said to a group like yourselves, I said, please tweet me and let everybody know that I'm not away on a jolly. And someone in the audience who I don't know tweeted this. Great game of golf. We're Dunlop 71. Nice to get out on a jolly for a day. So please feel free to incriminate me, or whatever it is that you'd like to do. So the full title of what I'm speaking about is History, Happiness and Hope, and the role that culture and the role that vision and purpose plays in culture. And the reason that I've started with the history, happiness and hope is because one of the things that happens when you are a UX professional, which is what I am, is that you're constantly going in pursuit of context. So one of the reasons that there remain so many poor designs still on the web and on digital products 25 years after we started this, is because often designers don't work hard enough searching for the context into which their designs need to work. So it's kind of hardwired into us that when we are given something to think about or a problem to consider, the first thing that we do is we go in search of context. And that's kind of where I'd like to start what we think about today. What is the context? What is the time and space context in which we are thinking about happiness, specifically happiness at work? So if we're thinking about context, we might as well go way back to the start. And I'll take you back to 20 million years ago, when our earliest ancestors, the most sort of recognizable animals that turned into Homo sapiens, were on the planet, and that's 20 million years ago. And for a long, long period of time, eventually they evolved into Homo sapiens. So we as a species have been knocking around the planet for 250,000 years. I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to fast forward to 2000 BC, and I'm going to take us into the modern era, and I'm going to think about some of the aspects of the modern era, about how we think, that might influence what we consider happiness to be and how our work influences that. So we'll do a very quick timeline. Obviously, we are here. So we are in a very specific moment in time and space, and I actually think we can learn some useful stuff by thinking about all the stuff that came before us being right here, right now. And if we have a look at a lot of the thinking that has taken us here, what you will see is that a lot of the influences around how we think about the world really came from two sources. They came from religious sources, and they came from philosophical sources. So whilst we probably don't consciously think this way, how we think about the world and how we see our role in the world has been influenced by the major religions like Judaism and Islam and Christianity, and it has also been influenced by philosophers like Confucius and Aristotle and so on. However, there is a very discernible break point in the timeline which happened incredibly recently. It's been mentioned today already, and just 200 years ago, a number of major things happened in society that significantly influence how we think about happiness and how we think about the role that our work plays in human happiness. And those two things were the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, which happened at around the same time. And one of the things that happened as a consequence of those activities was that we think about happiness in a different way. How we consider what we're here to do on the planet before and after the Industrial Revolution are different. How we consider our role on the planet before and after the Enlightenment are different. And if you have a look at what we thought about our place in the world pre-Industrial Revolution, what we see is that a lot of the things that we thought in terms of happiness were to do with the problems of suffering and the problems of pain. And a lot of how we thought about our place in the world was asking, how can we reduce suffering, increase virtue? And that's reflected in a lot of the ways that we thought our job was pre-Industrial Revolution and pre-Enlightenment. But following those events, we now think about happiness in a different way, and we actively pursue it. It is something that we think about and we strive for. And probably the most famous, the best known example of this being articulated comes from the American Declaration of Independence, with phrases that I'm sure we have all heard. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and that amongst our unalienable rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So we've got it hardwired into our minds that this is something which we strive or go after, or that we want to achieve in the way that we live. However, there's a bit of a difficulty here, because as a result of the Enlightenment and as a result of the Industrial Revolution, a number of important things happened to how we think about work and about how we live. So let's just think about how we worked and lived before and after the Industrial Revolution. So, before the Industrial Revolution, the majority of humans on the earth lived and worked on the land. So they tilled the land, they picked berries, they picked mushrooms, they hunted, they fished. Some of them had subsistence living, and some of them were just kind of beyond subsistence living. And whilst the work was quite menial, there was a purpose and a meaning baked into it. In other words, people who got up in the morning and did a day's work, and as a result of their day's work, were able to feed their family. They didn't find themselves wondering why they were doing it. They didn't ask, do I need a career change? Because meaning and purpose was just baked into the work. And if you didn't work, you didn't eat. So the equation was really, really straightforward. So people were very closely connected to the purpose of their work. And of course, after the Industrial Revolution, that became abstracted because people got removed from the purpose of their work. And the second thing that happened as a result of the Industrial Revolution was that we fell out of the rhythm of the universe. Now, that's a very sort of grand-sounding thing. But what I mean by that is, pre-Industrial Revolution, you got up at a certain time. When it was daylight, you picked berries, you hunted, you fished, you farmed the land. And when it was nighttime and dark, you couldn't do those things anymore, so you stopped working and you lit a fire and you had dinner with your family. And historical records from right throughout the ages suggest that actually there were 1 or 2 hours leisure time and family time baked into most days. So life had a very natural rhythm to it. So people didn't get burnt out because they were kind of in rhythm with the universe. They couldn't work overtime at night because you can't hunt when it's dark and you can't get berries when it's dark. And they were used to eating certain foods in the winter and certain foods in the summer and certain foods in the autumn. So we were kind of baked into the rhythm. But when the Industrial Revolution came along, all of a sudden we are abstracted from the meaning of our work because we cannot see necessarily what happens as a result of what we do. And we get removed from the rhythm of the universe. And these things obviously unsettle us because we've got 250,000 years of evolutionary hardwiring in our brains that say, for us to be happy, we need to live in this rhythm. We need to live in rhythm with the universe, and we need to feel connected to the meaning and the purpose of our work. And as a result of the Industrial Revolution, we find ourselves having to face, probably for the first time in evolutionary history over the last 200 years, we are forced to face the biggest question of them all. The question that we all have to look in the mirror and at some stage answer. Tell me, what is it that you plan to do with this one wild and precious life? What are we going to do with our time here? And this is where work comes in, and this is where I think purpose comes in. And one of the reasons that I find myself a little bit recoiling when I see organisations seeking to attract people based on flexibility and comfort, the reason that it sits uneasily with me is this. Every single thing in life which you have achieved that's important is really hard. So think about, I think Harry asked this morning, think about that time when you were really on it in work, and he asked the question, was it easy? And everyone went, no, it was difficult. So whether that is, maintaining a healthy and happy marriage, or bringing up kids, or making business achievements, or starting a business, growing a business, selling a business, anything that we've done that we feel proud of that's an achievement, it's really, really difficult. So, can you imagine, Alan Turing, or Ernest Shackleton, or Neil Armstrong, or Emmeline Pankhurst, can you imagine them trying to attract people to their teams using some of the techniques that we see happening nowadays? There are no Pizza Fridays on Shackleton's boats. There are no Beer Tuesdays when Turing's trying to reduce the war by 2 years. You sign up to those guys' teams or girls' teams, you're going to be risking your life, you're going to be working long hours, the conditions are going to be really, really tricky. But actually, those teams, they did it in a heartbeat. They signed up voluntarily to be on the crew of the Endurance. Pankhurst's ladies were more than happy to handcuff themselves to railings because the purpose was so overwhelming that the comfort didn't matter. It didn't matter how hard it was because the thing was so important that actually they just wanted to get down to business with the thing. So without any judgment, let me show you something I saw on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago, which just left me feeling a little bit, empty's the wrong word, but a little bit uncomfortable. So someone had joined a new company, and this is what they posted up. Delighted to join the family, and what a welcome. Shiny new MacBook Air, most comfortable hoodie ever, and out for team lunch. I already feel at home. I decided to join for so many reasons. They're so passionate about what they do. Their future plans are super exciting. They're family friendly, and they care about their people. And then some of the stuff, private gym membership, and year-on-year growth, diversity and inclusion. Oh, here's our Pizza Fridays. Can't forget those. Weekly happy hours, etc. And these are good things. Isn't it lovely that someone has joined this company and they feel, these guys care for me. That is a good thing. But surely that can't be how or why we lead. Surely that isn't the proposition that business leaders are bringing teams of people. Surely we've got more to offer than just saying, it's quite comfortable here, or you'll enjoy a good lifestyle here. Imagine 100 years ago if one of Shackleton's men had posted this up. So stoked to join the endurance team, and what a welcome. Shiny new sets of ropes, the most comfy jumper ever, and out for permacin with the crew, a mixture of pounded dried beef and beef fat, mixed with crushed sledging biscuits and melted snow. I decided to join Team Endurance for so many reasons. They're passionate about what they do, their future plans are super exciting, family friendly, they care for the people. So, if we'd read that 100 years ago, surely we would have got, What are you talking about, man? You're about to go and try and cross the Antarctic with a team of 30 people. You're going to have your name in history forever. Why are you talking about getting a jumper and getting a new set of ropes? That is secondary. That is secondary to the stuff that matters. Now, of course, isn't it good that if you're on the endurance, you get a woolly jumper and a set of ropes, and that you get food? Of course it's good, but it's not the point, and it's not the story. And I just, sometimes when I see this stuff, get a little bit concerned that we are maybe putting second things first and first things second. And I think for me, the way I'm wired is just a simple idea that purpose inspires and comfort kills. And I actually think that there's nothing in life less comfortable than endless comfort. And you just have to see the difference between, you know, famous people who have everything in super comfort and how empty their lives can appear, and people who have far, far less, but they have a drive and a determination. So that's kind of how I understand it all. And I suppose for me, the question then is, well, so what do we do about that, or how might that influence how we lead companies, how we build teams, and how we get the most out of our people? So I've got some takeaways that I thought I might share with you that I hope you find useful. For me, the most important thing is this. The most important thing about your purpose is that it is true. Now that might sound like a really obvious thing to say, but the very best type of purpose is a worthy purpose. But if you don't have a worthy purpose, don't make one up. So the World Health Organization, or cancer charities, or the wonderful work that Jana shared with us this morning, they have an inbuilt purpose that is just remarkable and needs to be applauded and rewarded, and is just fabulous. But if your purpose isn't that kind of purpose, don't pretend that it is. And it might sound obvious, but I'm going to show you some purpose statements from brands and organizations that you will recognize. And I think some of them are not true. So when it comes to purpose, the big thing is you've got to stand in your own truth. Here are some of the brands. And what I've done on purpose is that I have put up some brands with worthy causes, some with causes that we might claim to be unworthy. And I'm just going to have a look, and we're going to think about what they mean. So here's one that we might think is a little bit questionable. British American Tobacco wants to be the world's best at satisfying consumer moments in tobacco and beyond. Not particularly worthy, but at least it's true. At least it's true. At least people who join that organisation know exactly what's going on. Or what about our friends at the Mafia? Now, the Mafia don't have a logo, okay, so I got it all. Their website must have been down when I was searching. So I got it off Google Images. But it doesn't need to be written down to be true. Their big value is omerta, the code of silence. If you squeal outside the circle, you pay with your life. And if you bring someone else into the circle and they squeal, you also pay with your life. That doesn't need to be explained. It's just understood that that's how things work with the Mafia. So those are unworthy, but true. We then have some which I would suggest are both worthy and true. So I think the Ferrari one's brilliant, make the world dream. I think they definitely do that. I think TED, I think that's definitely true, spread ideas. Some of you may have seen that remarkable Observer journalist just about a month ago, properly speaking truth to power, going to Silicon Valley and telling them exactly how she felt about how they dealt with truthful information and the lack of effort that they're making. I think they absolutely live that value. But what about some others? What about Uber? Everyone's favourite driver. Transportation that creates more job opportunities and higher incomes for drivers. That's just not true. It's just, I'm sorry, but you can't make it up. You can't just put it there, looks good in the marketing. It's just not true. Or what about, our friends at Be Connected, Be Discovered by Cambridge Analytica? So again, what I am suggesting is that, or it's tempting in the absence of a purpose to ask, what would look good, sound good, what do our shareholders want? That is a waste of time. The fundamental thing about your purpose is that it has to be true. So I mentioned that phrase, you've got to stand in your own truth. In Ireland, we also have the opposite phrase when something isn't that, and this is the phrase here. He likes the smell of his own shite. So please make sure you're the former. and not the latter. Okay, what else we got? I feel that the primary job of the leader is to find a team who believe in the purpose. And I feel that sometimes when we talk about people management and so on, it can be tempting to view people as this homogeneous mass, equally skilled, equally talented, equally motivated, equally capable, and that's just not true. For my many sins, I am a big Irish rugby fan. And supporting Ireland for the last 10 years has been really easy because the team has been really brilliant. But I grew up watching them in the 90s when they were terrible. And the first Irish rugby manager who really started to get success was this guy here, a guy called Eddie O'Sullivan. And in sort of 04, 05, 06, the Irish team won the Triple Crown a few times. And he started to bring a culture of winning into the Irish rugby team. And I was at a business breakfast about 15 years ago when he was the Irish coach that he was running. And someone asked him the question, what is your most important job as coach and manager? And he said, it's funny you should ask that, because Eddie O'Sullivan, was himself at an elite sport management event that was being hosted by none other than Alex Ferguson. And someone asked Alex Ferguson the same question. What is your number one, what's the most important thing you do? Now, if the media are to be believed, Fergie's brilliance is in his man management, his intimidating presence, his, just how much he gets out of his players. But Fergie was clear. The most important thing that he needed to do was to get the best 11 players on the pitch. He recognised that his first job was selection. He understood that players who were good in the championship weren't going to make it in the Premiership. He couldn't train average players to be the way that he needed them to be. And he recognised that just as all players are not created equal in our world, so teams are not created equal. And imagine, run with me in this thought experiment, if you will. Some of you may or may not know football, or even be interested. But there's a player called Andy Cole who moved from Newcastle to Man United in the 1996 season. And I want you to imagine, and hopefully you know some of these personalities, but I want you to imagine what it would have been like for Andy Cole turning up into that Man United dressing room in 1996. He would have stepped into that dressing room, and in that dressing room he would have seen Roy Keane, Peter Schmeichel, the Neville brothers, David Beckham, Cantona was around at that time. So no one was going to have to explain to Andy Cole, here's how we do things at Manchester United. It was absolutely clear and lived out in the players that were around that dressing room. And the reason that purpose has to be true is because it's only true if it is unspoken. It often doesn't have to be said. So when we think about creating culture, I feel that our first job, to use my Alex Ferguson analogy, is to get the team that's going to do the job for you, recognising that all teams are not created equal. Next thing I would say is this. I always try to take as much risk as I can with transparency. I try to share as much as I possibly can with as many people as I possibly can, so that they are connected with the impact of what it is that they do. And I try to take risks so that I don't keep lots of company information to myself. The way that plays out, for instance, is here's our plan. This is Fathom's plan for the next 2 years. We want to be the leading human experience design agency on the island of Ireland. So that leadership direction was inspired by me, but how that is reflected was agreed with the team. And we agreed the 6 pillars. We agreed what that meant for the services that we delivered, how we were going to develop our people, what we wanted in terms of culture, what that meant commercially, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of thought leadership. So what that risky transparency went for me was that we established direction, but the team helped us work out what that meant. Number 4, we've got 5, so we're almost there. Number 4, culture and purpose is the product you build for your people. In a sense, culture is the product and your team are its customers. That is the thing that people come for. And that's the thing that we should sell. And I don't say sell in a sort of a salesman-y way or a salesperson way. I mean that is the thing that we need to lead with when we are speaking to people and trying to encourage them to join our team. And the final thing, C.S. Lewis, I forgot about this. So, of course I've got to mention Belfast's most famous philosopher. I can't not do that today. C.S. Lewis just puts it so brilliantly. Put first things first, and second things are thrown in. put second things first, and you lose both the first things and the second things. Okay. And finally, purpose is a work in progress, always and forever. Coming to a conference and listening to someone tell you how to run your business is like coming to a conference and hearing someone tell you how to have sex. It's not one of those things that you can kind of learn through a lecture. It's one of those things you just kind of have to do. And the second challenge is that in both topics, business and sex, the person at the front is going to infer that they are better at it than perhaps they actually are. But back to business. So what I want to say, genuinely with modesty, is that this is a work in progress. I've been at it 20 years. I'm better than I was 10 years ago, and I hope in 10 years' time I will be better than I am today. And I don't, these are just some observations that I have and some principles that I try to run my professional life by, but I don't pretend for a second that I have all the answers. We're all learning in this stuff all the time. Humans are complex. So allow me just to summarise just with my 5 points. The most important thing about your purpose is that it is true. Your primary job as a leader is to find a team who believe in your purpose. Take as much risk as you can stomach with transparency. Culture and purpose is the product you build for your people, and purpose is a work in progress, always and forever. Allow me to finish with one of my favourite quotes from a crazy Frenchman who was a poet and a traveller and an entrepreneur. This guy here is a guy called Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, and he sums it up perfectly. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect wood, and don't assign them tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. Thank you very much.
Gareth, that's absolutely brilliant. I think that's definitely the best presentation I've ever seen on purpose. Remember, we've got Slido up, so Gareth's taken his